An art journal tutorial, Your Feet Don't Anchor You, by Creative Katie. That's me, Karen Burchell. Here are some of the techniques used. Making your own designer tissue paper, using modeling paste, complementary colors, using embossing, powder, and sprays. Here's a sneak peek of the finished product so you know where we're going to end up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and choose the option to get notified of upcoming videos. If you're looking for some of the products used to create this page, you'll find the links in the description box. So to start off, I am going to take some of my stamps and stamp on some plain white tissue paper. And I think this was probably in a gift bag. It's all wrinkled. I don't care. That's just going to add texture. So this is one way you can add some pattern to the background. And if you want to see a video about this, I will put the link to my mixed media technique tag. This is mixed media technique tag number 1. And I show 3 different options of how to create your own papers and how to use that. So I challenged myself to use that technique on a page because I realized that I don't think I've ever really used that one. So the stamps that I've selected for this are very page neutral. You could probably put this background on any page. There's a script stamp, there's that netting stamp from Kaiser Craft, which I absolutely love, and next to my script stamp I think it's going to be one of my absolute faves. I find it so usable. Here I'm using some shelf liner, and it's making a very interesting pattern. I actually really like it. And I'm filling up most of the space. There's not a whole lot of white space left on this tissue paper. There's a bubble stamp. And it's just adding some texture, some design, some pattern to your background. You really don't want to see this for the purposes of what I'm doing. Sometimes you may want to actually see more of the picture where the stamped picture on the tissue paper, you actually want to be able to see it. Here we just want the lines and the movement behind there. So I did that with my StazOn because I don't want that to reactivate at any stage. I kind of cut it down to size, and I'm using my gel medium, and I'm getting a good amount on the page, and I'm just spreading that out, and I'm laying this down. And I don't want a whole lot of wrinkles, but I don't care if there are some wrinkles. So I'm pressing that down and then just making sure that all the edges are done. Now on the left hand side, you'll note that there is a piece of painter's tape, and I put that there to prevent the paint and everything from getting into the coils. With this Canson Mixed Media coil bound journal, I made the decision to only do journaling on one side, use only one side of the page, and I'm masking that off. It makes a nice clean edge at the end, you'll see. But what it also does is I can cut that out and I will be able to frame the picture, and everything is kind of well within that boundary. So that's kind of the decision between why you'll see that with all my videos. And some of the white spaces that I have, I'm just ripping the tissue paper and adding more on top just to fill in some white spaces that I have. And giving it a quick dry. Now it's a very busy background, and a lot of this you're not going to see later on. Now I was going to use another one of my mixed media technique tags using paper towel, but my paper towel, I have the selected size, so it's very small sheets, and I couldn't make the heart as big as I wanted. So there's a stamp that I bought before Christmas from Michaels that I absolutely love. It's kind of a tree, and the branches make hearts, and then the roots make hearts in the ground. And because I haven't used it, I'm just stamping off first. And I'm putting the heart on there and stamping with the Stays On ink. Again, I want it to be permanent. So that's going to go there. And of course, it's kind of fading into the background right now. But you'll see where I go with this. So I got out my Dilutions paints in 2 blues, 2 greens, and these are analogous colors. They're close on to each other on the color wheel. And I'm just applying layers of the color. And I'm not getting too hung up. The turquoise that I'm using right now, I'm thinking that it's very, very light, and I'm not really happy with it, but I'm thinking, okay, just dry and come back and put another layer. Quite often I say this is where it goes through that ugly stage. And I just use the felt applicators, the Ranger applicators, and some of them I have put them onto with Velcro onto some old teacher stamps that I had instead of buying the Ranger applicators. I'm just going to play with these colors until I like what I see. Until everything's blended. So I'm going from one color to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's looking a little plain until I get to that dark blue. It always seems to just add such depth to a background. And maybe it's the contrast that's added that I really like. So I'm putting that away, and I'm digging out my some yellow, orange and reds and burgundy to do onto the coffee filter here. And I chose those colors because the orange, red colors, pink colors are going to be opposite of the blues and greens on the color wheel. That makes them complementary or close to being complementary, and I know that that's going to really pop on a page. It's going to work well together. I would never mix these wet at the same time because that's how you get mud. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm noticing that my stamp is definitely fading into the background, and I kind of wanted it a little bit more to stand out. I'm thinking, well, maybe when it dries, it'll be stand out, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll go over it with a liner brush and some black acrylic paint or my micron pen later. But for now, I just kind of tabled the idea. Just going to finish drying it. Now I have all my applicators, and you can see the contrast there, how lovely those color combos work together. So I'm grabbing some stickers, and this is one of my favorite ways of using up unused paint right now, especially this Dilutions paint. I'm putting it on a variety of shapes and sizes of stickers. Now, one of the uses I have for these stickers is using them in my Happy Planner. And I'm going to put a link to one of the videos where I do use that in the Happy Planner. And you can see how I'm using these stickers with this unused paint on it in my Happy Planner. So if that's something you're interested, check the eye in the top right hand corner, and that'll take you to one of those videos. And if you like what you see or you're doing the planner thing, you can check out my planner series as well. Some of these stickers are transparent, they're see-through, and when you use them on your planner, or you could be using them on a journal page if you so fit. But they go on so quickly and easily. And I figure, why waste this paint? So back to my idea of the tree stamp not looking so dark. And then I get an idea that I'm going to use Versamark on it. So I color another heart, and color and cut out another heart, and I'm using black embossing powder and my Versamark ink to make that stamp really stand out as much as I want it to. I want that contrast. Just cleaning up little bits and pieces. Now embossing, I love embossing, but I so totally don't do a great job of it at all. And you can see how much brighter the embossing makes this stamp stand out. And you can, here's a comparison. Here's where I had it, and here's what you can see now. So way better to do the embossing technique than the other one. So I have my background, and I decide I'm going to use some modeling paste, and this is flexible modeling paste. And I'm using this mini dot stencil that I have had for almost from the beginning of my art journaling career. And I don't use it a lot, but I see people using it, and I always love when they use it. So I decided I'm going to use it because 2017 is the year of using what you have in your stash. So I'm just putting it here and there. And I'm trying to keep the center area open for the heart because I plan on putting it in there. And I'm cleaning up a little bits and pieces. As I see fit. So once that's done, I go off camera and I clean my stencil because that's really important. And now I'm arranging it. And you'll notice that I've now turned the book to the landscape orientation. You'll also note that my heart, I'm putting it in an angle. And the reason for that is I didn't stamp the heart smack dab in the middle, the tree smack dab in the middle of the heart. So that was kind of bothering me. By putting it not straight up and down, you don't really notice that. I dig out a couple of my Lindy's sprays, and one of them is Afternoon Delight Denim, which is one of my absolute favorites. It's a dark navy with gold in it. There's a teal in there and then a gold. And I'm just going to let it move in there. Get it to drip. I'm adding a little bit of water, adding a little more spray, and this process goes. This is a process you cannot rush. Just take the time. I'm liking the little bit of drips, but I know that that's where the heart's going to go, so I'm not getting too attached to it. Make it go this way and make it go that way. So here you can get kind of close-ups of, you can see how it's all tucked into the nooks and cranny, and maybe you can make out a little bit of the shimmer. Sorry, it's not picking up the best. And you can see where the tissue paper, you can see the pattern underneath it. Now my goal with the tissue paper was just to add that little bit of interest underneath. I didn't want it to be in my face. So I'm playing with the quote that I had typed up, "Your feet don't anchor you, your friends and family do." And I'm applying gel medium to the back of this coffee filter heart. Now you can't see it right now, but as the coffee filter is wet with the gel medium, the Lindy sprays underneath do reactivate a bit, and you do get some of the color coming through, and it absolutely kind of makes it distress. So the final product, it looks amazing. So I'm being careful because I know the Lindy spray will reactivate if I get a little too rough. It's a little bit forgiving, more so than some water activated products, but you have to be gentle. So using gel medium instead of Mod Podge would be one reason. It's less wet. I'm not going to rub around it or on the background as much. Giving that a dry. And you can see where some of that teal green has come peek through on that heart. So I'm using the Stabilo All Pencil and I'm rubbing it in because again, I don't want to make a mess. Don't want to activate the sprays. And I'm going on the heart. I'm actually going on the surface of the heart, not outside of the heart. And I'm doing that deliberately because I do want to activate the heart. I want to get a little bit more black around the heart to outline it and make it pop. And I don't want too much water on the Lindy sprays behind. So here you see me going with a small round brush and I'm just reactivating or activating the Stabilo All Pencil. If you like a crisp, clean line for outlining your focal points, Stabilo isn't it. You have to be able to let go, and really what I want it to do is kind of bleed out, so it's darkest at the edge and then lighter as it goes in. Then I decide with a very light hand and very tip of my brush to activate the Stabilo around the letters. It just wasn't popping as much as I wanted, so I risked activating the sprays. But if you're gentle and careful and remember what products you're working on, you can get away with it. Looking to get a little bit darker on there, and I think I'm going to grab my gelato. I'm going to go around the edge and just activate it with a wet finger. And the black around there is such a simple step, but it just makes the page pop. It brings out the black on the tree and the black in the letters and ties everything together. And then I decide I'm going to use the Stabilo to add a little bit more black on the heart. So I fuss and muss a little bit here. I think I'd even do some off camera to get the right amount of shading around the heart that looks good to me. And so there you can see the clean edge. Got a little bit came off in there and I just put some black in there. And I'm signing it with white because I don't think my black is going to show up. And you can see how you can see through the coffee filter, and I love that look. It just added something to it that I couldn't even do. So here's some close-ups of the finished page and closer up parts where you can see the texture, and if you look you can see some of the design and pattern that came from the tissue paper. It's really subtle, it's not in your face, but it's there and it adds to the finished product. Here you can see the tissue paper, but there's no texture there. And the next one you can see the tissue paper and the texture and everything working together. Thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial. Bye for now.